And welcome back, everybody, to the Blue Shoe TV podcast. Today, me and Jake Hansen are going over the Kentucky Dream Mile that is going to happen tomorrow on Friday night at St. Xavier High School. The Dream Mile features the top 16 boys and girls across the state of Kentucky, and they will race over the mile distance. The goal of this meet is to feature some of the best runners obviously in the state and get that competition and see who can handle it. And it's a good meet because obviously we have classes here in Kentucky, so you never truly get to see a championship race against all three classes. So the Dream Mile gives us a unique opportunity to see all these great runners across the state race against each other in a championship style racing. But without further ado, we will jump straight into the girls' race. The girls' race is pretty stacked, but there is a key note. Our top seed, Addison Moore, is not in the race. She is choosing to go do her senior night at CKC instead. So, with that said, our number one seed is Mabel George of Assumption at 452. Our two seed is Abigail Turner of Lexington Catholic, 459. Our three seed is Bailey Houghton of Thomas Nelton, 5 flat. Our four seed is Lily Park, 501 of Beechwood. Our five seed is El Cargold of North Oldham, 501. Our six seed is Kenny Megamian of LCA, 505. Our seven seed is Suzanne Estep, 506. And our eight seed is Macy Moore of 507. Our nine seed is Isabella Day, 507 as well. Our 10 seed is Savannah Mooney, 507. Lucy Gaunt, 508. Molly Chambers, 509. Peyton Reed, 510. Annie Sewell, 5'11". Bailey Montgomery was supposed to be your last one in at a 5'11.75, but with Addison Moore dropping out, Nora Barker of Notre Dame has gotten in with a 5'12". So it's a very, very stacked field. We've got a lot of good runners that are in the field, and it's going to be an interesting race. Now, Jake, I'll ask you. Obviously, Addie Moore likes to run from the front. She doesn't really typically like that tactical race. We've seen over the years when she's been in the Dream Mile race, she has gone to the front and made sure it's fast. Do you think this year, without her in it, that will change and we could see maybe more of a tactical race and a championship style race?
So the approach for this race, the field is definitely quite a bit interesting. It's not really anything we've seen like in the years past. Usually in the years past, there's usually about four or five, even six or seven front runners that are quite a bit ahead of the field. This race is a little bit different. Mabel George is the very heavy favorite, being the one seed by 7 seconds, not having Addie Moore in there. Usually there would be about probably, I would say, four or five people in that range. So usually the pace would at least go up pretty honestly. However, this year is a little bit different with there being one heavy front runner, and then there's kind of like a little there's a chase pack of for the next like four or five people in that chasing that sub 5 mark. And then after that, it's completely bunched together with seeds 7 through 16 being within like 4 or 5 seconds of each other, which in the Dream Mile, they're going to be together. So I kind of feel like this race is going to play out quite a bit tactically, just kind of looking at the field. That's my interpretation of it. I think Mabel George will definitely. I didn't watch the Eastern Relays race, but I can't imagine they went out super hard. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think she'll want to be able to take over this race in the later half. Another thing I could possibly see is Mabel George doing something like Will Sheets did last year, taking the lead at the 800 mark and kind of separating herself from the field. I think that's also a possibility, but my prediction, I think it'll be a little more tactical.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, like you said, Mabel George with that 450 seed time, we have a lot of the other girls are right around that 5 flat mark. And then there's kind of another separation and it goes towards like the 507 to 512 range. So there's kind of those chase backs. So you would think, obviously it should be, people, you don't want to say it's easy, but it should be an easy win for Mabel George, but it's not going to be that way because she's going to have to play her tactics correct. Now, I will say if you are, Abigail Turner, Elle Kergold, and that pack of girls that are a little bit behind Mabel, and if she starts to go out and insert the pace from the gun, do you think if you were them, would you go with would you go with the pace, or would you try and sit back and just hope that she kind of came back to you in the later parts of the race?
100%, I would go with her. And here's why. So, obviously, the Dream Mile, this is where most people run their fastest races of the year, even faster. A lot of people peak for this race. A lot of people run faster here than they do at even the state meet. So, it's really a huge deal. I feel like if it comes down to a kick, Mabel George has that 208, 800 speed, that 400 speed. It's going to be really difficult to outkick her. I think the more likely scenario is if she takes the pace out really hard and starts to blow up over that final like 600 markish. I think that's the only way she could possibly lose this race is if some of those people in that chase pack go right with her.
Right, yeah. Obviously, a lot of those girls kind of in that chase back, have strong kicks. So that's where you could see Mabel maybe get into some trouble if she's, going out hard and people go out with her and she's starting to, feel a little bit in that last 400. You've got people in that chase pack that have really good kicks and really strong kicks, and you never know if you're going to have that type of day where you're feeling really good, and it can happen for anyone. And that's kind of the day that some of these girls need to have, because the upset is possible, but it would take basically a perfect to more than ideal race. But with that being said, Jake, I'll let you go ahead. What is kind of your predictions for how this race is going to play out?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I think it's going to go out pretty tactically, and it's going to come down to probably the final 4 to 600. Mabel George is the heavy favorite. I'm going to pick her to win, but definitely do think it's doable for her to get taken down with some of the talent in this field. If she were to lose, in second, my prediction is going to be Bailey Houghton from Thomas Nelson. You've got Riku Sugi, a two-time Dream Mile champion. You have Lane Hoyes, who won it in 2022. Thomas Nelson's obviously very well prepared for these types of meets, these big-time meets. And Bailey also ran a 10:33 in the Eastern Relays 3200. So she's clearly ready to go. I think she could run faster than the 5 flat seed time. If the winning time is like slower than probably 4:53 or 4:54, she 100% could win it. So I'm going to pick her to get second. Third, I think Abigail Turner has also been running really well. Just ran 2:12 in the 800 at the Eastern Relays meet. And it's kind of a toss up after that. Obviously, that chase pack's pretty tight knit. I'm going to pick Kennedy Megamian from LCA. From She's ran really fast in the 3200 all year for that fourth spot. I think she could run a really fast mile. And fifth, I'll probably pick Elle Cargold from North Oldham. Obviously, having experience in this race definitely helps. So I'll pick that for the fifth spot.
Right. Well, I will. I'm gonna kind of go a different direction than you are. Obviously, Mabel's this top seed. She ran 450 by being paced by I think her coach at AOC Distance Festival at home. She didn't have her best race at Eastern, but came back later in the day and went 2:12. And you'll see where I'm going here in a second. She didn't have her best day here at Eastern in the mile. Came back and ran the 800. Thought it would be a blowout. There's one girl that she had to outlean, and that was Abigail Turner. I think that if this race goes the way I think it will, I think that there's a chance that Mabel might take it out hard, but not hard enough to drop this chase pack and just completely like bewilder them. I think that there's a chance that this can kind of go out on a pace for around a 455 mile, and that sets up perfectly for a lot of these girls to have big PRs. And I think this favors Abigail Turner later in the race. I think she probably has the best kick in the race, in my opinion, just based off what I've seen. She was right with Mabel George at Eastern running 2:12. She went 2:15 to win the Johnny Kahn Invitational, and she went 4:57, kicking around the entire pack at AOC Distance Festival. I think she's ready. I think that if I'm going to have an upset pick, I'm going to go with Abigail from Lexington Catholic. Second, I'm going to go in the trend of the upset. I think Bailey Houghton will get second. I think that she's been running a lot more 800s this year than we've ever seen her run. She ran 3 800s this season. She's ran 2:16 at Borgia, and that's a major improvement from what she was running last year. I think she's trying to fine tune that speed work, and that's really going to benefit her in this race when it comes to the last 300 meters or so. She ran 10:33 Eastern. She's got the perfect. She's been running really good and has that perfect mix. I think if anyone's going to pull off another upset, it'll be Bailey Houghton. Third, I'll go maybe Mabel George. Obviously, without a doubt, she's the heavy favorite. Fourth, I'm going to go Lily Park. It's a little bit concerning she didn't run since President's Day, but since she's been back, she's been running really good. Went 2:15 as well at Borgia, 5:04 at Borgia, just running straight from the gun and taking it. And she went 5:01 at Eastern. So I think she's obviously really ready to run. And in fifth place, I'm going to go Kennedy Megamian. She's been running very well, 10:50 at Eastern and 5:03 at AOC. I think this is kind of a perfect race for her, and I think that's kind of going to be your top five, and you might see some separation from that from everyone else. But as we move on past from the girls' race, we move towards the boys' race. The boys' race features some of the best boys runners in the entire state. They're some of the top talent. Starting off with our one seed, Paul Van Lanningham, 407. Nick Sanders is your two seed at 408. James Gurley, 410. Van Weimer, 414. Xavier Richardson, 414. Asher Fedek, 414. Jake Hagan having a crazy season, 416. He just ran 154 the other day. Ethan Mann, the sophomore, 416. Grant Holbrook, 417. Aiden Taylor, 418. Henry Kaiser, 419. Chris Wells, 420. Kobe Yates with the last second qualification, 420. Kyle Stickle, 420. Aiden Albritton, 422. And Justin Durand, 422 as well. So obviously we have some great runners in this race, and we are bringing on Van Weimer from Lafayette. Van has had a crazy season. He's a junior. He's been paired up with his training partner, Xavier Richardson, all season. Been running very close to him. Obviously, this is his second year running in the Dream Mile, and he's ready to run pretty fast. So, Van, welcome on. Jake, you can go ahead with your first question.
Yeah, so having me and Buzz been through the Coach Joy system, we know you all have been hauling on workouts lately. You just ran 153 in the 800 at that Bourbon County meet, right behind X. You've been hovering around that 415 mile mark for a really long time. So, bottom line is you're due for a breakthrough mile. So, from a mental approach, what do you think it will take for you to have that breakout mile race in this race? And also, what does your perception of success look like to you in this race?
So basically, what the mental plan is for this race is just go out, don't be afraid. Just don't focus on what can happen bad can happen, focus on what good can happen. Middle of the race, I'm not going to be thinking about, oh, what if I hurt? What if this hurts? What if pushing this lap screws me over later? But it's like, what if this lap makes the race for me? What if this lap makes me PR? And then what I'm looking to do out of this race is I'm trying to get sub 410, well under there, hopefully. So yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, like you said, it's a championship race with especially in the position you're going into, there's no risk. You can kind of push in the race, and there's no if it messes up, there's no punishment for it. You're coming in as kind of an underdog. And but with that, does it kind of give you a sense of confidence having your training partner and teammate Xavier Richardson in the race? And can we see, potentially, some race tactics from you two? Obviously, you guys work together and run together every single day. Could that be, a benefit and a strategy going into this race tomorrow?
I mean, I will say seeing him in a race definitely gives me confidence. I mean, we train together, we race together, just kind of do everything running together. So it's definitely a big like confidence booster when I see him in a race and when I'm next to him. It's just like that's my teammate. Here we go. But as far as race plan goes, we kind of just race individually. We're both great individuals and we get confidence from each other, but we also are trying to beat each other all the time and we are competitive with each other. So we have different race plans and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jake, one more question from you.
Yeah, so you and X have been running really fast all season. How do you think that has positively impacted the Lafayette team all as well? Like, like Jackson Prophet, some of those other talented guys. How do you think you and X push them to be better?
I mean, I think it can help. It can definitely help seeing two guys going out there giving it all, and it makes them want to give their all to it, like the team. It also helps just being friends with the guys. A good team culture is everything. Like being friends, going hanging out outside of running, it creates like a real bond that everybody wants to do their best and help each other out. So I'd say that's that is a big part of it.
For sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, I know you're not trying to think about the competition as much. And, obviously, I know a lot of people, like yourself, are a big competitor and, try the day before to stay off social media. But I do want to know, just kind of doing our investigating research, we saw that obviously Nick Sanders, one of the top seeds in the Dream Mile, we saw that he reposted the Dream Mile Instagram post where it was kind of cutting off X because obviously they combined the post with UNX. and just showed you. I don't know if that's a diss or if that was an accident or whatever. Did you see that? And does that like provide motivation if he's, obviously it's great for the sport. I think it's great for people to be talking trash and stuff like that. But is that kind of just like, all fun and games, or is that kind of an extra motivator tomorrow, the last 300 meters?
It's all fun and games, man. I mean, that's hilarious. Coach Joy did me dirty with that picture. I mean, I was laughing at myself. The team was laughing at it. Even my own teammate commented on it, telling me I looked goofy. So I just think it's all fun and games, friendly competition. I think it's awesome.
Got to give it to Nick though. That's some elite level trolling if he did that on purpose.
Yeah. Well, Van, good luck. You've had a crazy season up until this point. Obviously, we hope you do well tomorrow. And thank you for coming on and joining us.
Thank you, boys. Happy to be here.
So yeah, that was Van Weimer. Obviously, a crazy junior, one of the best juniors in the entire state. And he's coming tomorrow kind of as an underdog, like we said. So, Jake, I'll ask you a question now. Obviously, we've seen this rivalry, Paul versus Nick Sanders. X is kind of on the outside of that. He's one of the best runners as well, but we've just seen where it's just been Paul versus Nick Sanders over and over again, where it's just always them two at the end of races. And, I would assume that they kind of see each other as rivals as well. And, they don't want to lose to each other. Do you think that will play a little bit of a mental game in either of their heads where it's like they're going to be too obsessed about beating each other that someone else might be able to slip in, kind of like a Van Weimer or someone like that, or do you think they're too overly focused on each other?
I wouldn't say they're overly focused on each other. I would say they're both overly focused on the win. They just want to win. I don't think it's really about beating each other individually. However, Paul, he's never won the Dream Mile. He's one of the top runners in the state's history. Actually, he's probably the GOAT when it's all said and done. Nick Sanders, it's his home track. He's never won the Dream Mile. Also one of the top milers in the state history. He's got all the support from all of his guys right there. It's home. There's definitely, I would say there's the most pressure on Nick Sanders to win this race than anybody else, just because of how many people are there to support him on his home track. It's really a lot for him to, deal with. But yeah, I think they're both just really focused on the win, and they're going to do whatever it takes to push the time here.
Well, going into that pressure kind of question, obviously you mentioned, you think Nick Sanders has the most pressure. Do you really think that? Do you think that obviously it's at his home track? There's, a lot of people that are going to come view him, and he's been running super well. But as you mentioned, Paul is, kind of forming himself as the greatest runner that Kentucky has ever seen in high school distance running. Do you think there's more, that's kind of the only thing that he hasn't accomplished is this Dream Mile Championship? Do you think that's kind of putting pressure on him instead? I think that both of these guys are coming in with a little bit of pressure. Obviously, Nick Sanders is at home. Paul has never won the Dream Mile. Do you think that's kind of, do you think that pressure is adding on a little bit more?
For sure. And also another thing that there's a lot of pressure on both of them is, the meet record set by Yard Naguse, that 4:06. Both of like who doesn't want to be above Yard Naguse in the all-time Dream Mile ranking, setting that meet record? That literally sound awesome. So I think both of them are really going to want to go for the win and push to a fast time in the low fours. I mean, I can't imagine the mentality is any other different. But yeah, for Paul, I mean, yeah, it really is the final. I don't even know how to word it. It's just the final big accomplishment that he could really get. Like, he's won all the state titles. He's never won the Dream Mile. He came really close last year, kind of faded over that final 200, was in it the whole race. He was one of the only few people that tried kind of challenging Will towards the end. He's definitely going to want to win this. I think he really is going to go for it.
Yeah, last question before we kind of get into these picks. You mentioned the meet record of Yard Naguse. Do you think that obviously these championship style racing you've seen in the past couple of years, Will Sheets, I'll shout out the Covcath coach, Will Sheets, all season before the Dream Mile, he went to the front, kind of like what Paul's doing right now, went to the front of every single race and was hard running from the front. Then at Dream Mile, everyone was expecting him to go to the front and do the exact same thing. Instead, he started out in last place, and at 800, he closed with a crazy kick. I know that the Dream Mile has kind of the history of being tactical. Do you think that this year it's going to be a little bit different? And do you think that there's someone that's going to make sure that it's not tactical? I could see a very, it's going to be a very physical race with all these, top competitors just that are so close to each other. Do you think that there's one person in the field that is going to make sure this race doesn't go down to sit and kick?
Well, for sure, I don't. Kind of looking at the field, I don't see a world where this ends up tactical. I really don't. It's kind of the opposite of the girls' race, which I think will be very tactical. I don't think this will be tactical at all. I don't know. I wouldn't pinpoint any specific people that would like to take this pace out hard, but there's definitely multiple of them that are definitely capable of taking it out in 60 or 59. And also, I kind of glimpsed over the weather. It's going to be perfect conditions. Last year was a little bit rainy. The year before it was a little bit rainy. Last year, Lincoln Herald took it out in 60 and then immediately hit the brakes, kind of turning it a fast race tactical immediately. That year before, James Gurley took it out. He's also in this race. He took it out at a pretty honest pace, kind of the same type of deal. The brakes were hit a little bit and the field didn't really want to take over. So I think this time around, it's set up to be a complete chaos from the gun for sure.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of go into our picks now. How do you think this race is going to play out? Who do you think is going to win, and how do you think it's going to go down?
So I think obviously, I've been very adamant about it, like the pace going up very hard. I think at the 800 mark, it'll probably be 202, 203, something like that. I think they're going to really, really push it. I don't know if Nick or Paul will be in the lead, but certainly either of them probably will. But I mean, the Dream Mile, there's really nothing. I would expect nothing. It's kind of like March Madness in a way, because you'll see dudes run times like unfathomable, and you could really see anyone go to the front. But I think it's going to go out probably in that 202, maybe even 201 if they're really trying to. I don't know what the pace lights are set at, because I know they're going to have them, but I don't know if they're going to be set to yards time or sub 4, which I think they should probably set it to the yards time. But regardless, I think this race is going to go out very hard, and it's going to come out. It's going to come down to who has it over the final 200. Now, did you want me to go into my predictions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I think Paul has obviously won the mile. He won the mile at Easter Relays. He won the mile at the Tyson Gay meet. Neither of those were. I'm not going to say a sub 410 isn't fast, but like for him, like he is definitely capable of running faster. He ran that 405 time at I think it was Nike Indoor Nationals, 405 in the mile, 404 for the 1600. I think he's really ready to go to run something close to that 4-minute barrier. I don't think it's going to be sub 4. My prediction, I'm going to pick Paul Van Lanningham to win this race, probably in the 403 to 404 range for the full mile, breaking Yard Nagusa's record. I think in second, I'm actually going to go with a dark horse pick. Second, I think Xavier Richardson's due for a big bounce back. He'll probably be in that, I would guess probably the 407, 408 range is what I'm going to predict. And also another guy that's been really, really dialed in this season, I'm going to go James Gurley in third. He qualified with a 410. I think he's certainly capable of running 408, 409. And also, I think the entire top 5 will be under 410. That's just how I see it playing out. In fourth, I'm going to predict Van. I think Van, like I said with Van, he just ran 153 in the 800. It's kind of in the same situation with Paul, where he's ran fast, but not like a really, really super crazy race. I think he's definitely due to run under that 410 mark. I'm going to go Van Weimer in fourth. And then because of the Instagram trolling, I'm going to have to go Nick Sanders in the 5, losing to both Van Weimer and Xavier Richardson, but also still under 410.
Yeah. There's no doubt this race is going to be fast. Paul's been going to the front all year, and I think even if he doesn't go to the front, someone's going to go to the front and make sure that this race is on pace. We've seen Paul just run so good over the course of the year. Just this outdoor season, He went 4:05 at Eastern over the full mile. He's undefeated this year in outdoor Kentucky State, or just Kentucky State runners. And he went 14:14 at 5K showdown. That was insane. He's just ran really good. His tactics have been really on par. He's made sure not to make any really crazy or dumb mistakes. But I don't think he's going to win. Going for this upset, I think he's going to make sure I think he's going to be the one that goes out. I think he'll go out in about a 2:02 through the 8:09. I think they'll run 2:61s, and I think he's going to kind of be making that turn where they get around 700 left. And he's going to notice that there's still a big pack, and I think he's going to be like, okay, I don't want to keep stringing this out. I don't want to keep being the rabbit. And I think they're going to kind of hit the brakes that third lap just a little bit. Maybe throw in like a 63 or a 64 to set up where they're like coming through 2:07 or 2:06 with a lap to go. And I think it'll just be whoever can close in 58, 57. And with that case, I think that James Gurley is due. I think in his senior year, I think he will run 4:04 to win. I think we've seen him just run really good this entire year. He went 9:02 at Eastern in the 32, came back the next day, went 4:10. He was 4:12, closing 1:58. I'm pretty sure at AOC. He was second place, right behind Nick Sanders. He went 4:10 at New Balance Indoor Nationals. I think he was like 1:30 through the last 600. His tactics have been really good. I think if anyone's going to pull off the upset, he has the kick to. He's been running really strong. Not to mention, he also went 9:07 solo at Class 1A Indoor State, just weaving in and out of people. This dude had a really good season. This is probably the best season he's had in a long time put together. I think if anyone's going to beat Paul or Nick Sanders, it's going to be James Gurley. I think 4:04, I think he'll kind of surprise himself. I think that he's going to be the one that's kind of smart, playing it safe back, maybe in like 6th or 7th place, letting everyone else do the pace work. And then whenever they kind of touch the brakes, he'll get himself into good position and be able to kick. Second place, obviously, I'm going to go Paul. Like I said, undefeated this season against Kentucky runners. Third, I'm going to go Van Weimer. Van Weimer, he's been running really good. He's been coming on really strong. He's beat X the past 2 miles that he's raced. Both have been 4:14. I'm pretty sure he went 9:10 at Eastern in the 3,200. He also went 1:53 just a couple days ago at Bourbon County. I think if he can kind of get over that barrier and get around X early in the race, then I think he can set himself up, put himself in position. I don't think he has the kick to contend with Gurley or Paul, but I think he has the motivation to beat someone like Nick Sanders, who I have coming at 4th place. I think obviously Nick's really good. Home court advantage per se. He's going to have a big student section. It's going to be very loud there. Everyone's going to be cheering for Nick Sanders, probably some Nick Sanders shirts in the crowd. And I just think that he might get himself into some trouble early, with 700 left when Paul touches the brakes. I think he might not know what to do because he's been planning on just kicking the last 200. So I could see him moving just a little bit too early, which allows someone like a late closer like James Gurley to pull this off. And in 5th place, I'm going to go Aiden Taylor over Xavier Richardson. I think Aiden Taylor's been running really good the past couple of weeks. I think Aiden's just due for it. I think Coach Cave has done a really good job with developing him so far. He's a very good junior over at Trinity High School. So, yeah, I think that this race is going to be fast. It's going to be 4:04. I think you're going to see probably all 7 to 8 on the podium get under that 4:10 mark. It's going to be very fast. I do want to shout out Ethan Mann. He's a sophomore just dominating right now. I think that he's going to be up there. He's going to be up there in contention. He's one of those people that I could see taking it if it somehow goes tactical. I think he could just want to go to the front and make sure this thing's fast because he's probably trying to run a good time. And lastly, before we end it off, I do want to shout out Justin Duran. Justin Duran was the last person in, and then he got knocked out, and then he was solo at a meet, and he ran the qualifying time again. That is crazy. I think he's due for another time. If he ran the Dream Mile qualification 2 weeks in a row, one of them being solo, I think you could see him place higher than people are expecting. I don't think he'll be the last person. Obviously, if you're able to run 4:21 basically solo, I mean that's pretty amazing. So I think you could see that being my dark horse for a higher placement than what their seed is. But Jake, do you kind of have someone like that? Do you have someone that's going to kind of place higher than their seed?
Oh yeah. So you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I had about 2 or 3 sleepers. One of them was Ethan Mann. I'm very high on Ethan Mann in this race. He's just ran 9:16 at the Eastern Relays 3,200. They've been consistently very fast in the mile. Really fast, one of the top 800 runners as well. This kid he's really good. Now, if the race, like you said, if the race is out in that 2:04, 2:05 race, 2:05 pace, don't be surprised to see Ethan Mann in the front. He really likes. I think he likes taking it out hard, kind of similar to like what Dan used to do in some of the past races. Kind of be up near the front, either in the leader in that second or third spot. I also, if I don't think it's going to go tactical at all, but if it does, like if they're like 2:07, 2:08 at the 800 or something, I would also look out for our guy Asher Fedek from Lexington Catholic. I mean, at the AOC distance festival, you saw the clip. He was right with Nick and James Gurley in that really tactical race that was like 2:14 at the 800. They all closed sub two. He was with them. I think if it goes tactical, this really does favor Asher Fedek. He could get right into that top 3 or 4 if it goes tactical. And also I also gotta give a shout out to Bourbon County's Christopher Wells. You know, he's really putting on a clinic this whole track season from indoor up until now. He's also got a really fast kick, and he could be someone to look out for in that chase pack, maybe sneaking into like the top 8.
Yeah. And last question before we end it off here. We've heard a lot about, these top runners here in Kentucky maybe chasing that 4-minute barrier. I personally don't think that that's even possible at this race. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see. What do you think the fastest is possible? Obviously, it's going to be perfect conditions. They're going to have pace lights. If it goes out perfectly, no one touches the brakes, and people are just dead set on running fast, what do you think the fastest this race is going to be ran at?
So I think Will Sheets ran 4:03 at the Hoka Festival of Miles last year. It was like 4:03 low, so it'd be a 4:01 for the 1600. I'd say at the absolute max, perfect race, unbelievable. I think the fastest it could possibly be is probably 4:02 high. I don't think sub 4 is in the realm of possibility, but I don't really know what to expect. It's kind of why we didn't make any like predictions on the Instagram account. We don't want to. You can really, anything can happen in these types of races. You just really don't know what to expect. So I can't imagine it's physically possible to go faster than 4:02.
Yeah, I think 4:02 is kind of that barrier, and 4:02 very high. Like I don't think they're going to break 4 through the 1600. I think maybe 4:01 through the 1600 is as fast as it's going to go. And because I just don't think that. I think the fastest going to open up is 2:01. I don't think anyone's going to close 1:59. We never know though. Anyone could come out and surprise us. But it's going to be a great race. We could talk about this race for hours, I'm sure, but we've got to end it off now. Good luck to everyone that's racing. It's going to be a crazy race, perfect conditions, pace lights. It's going to be everything. There's no excuses not to run fast. It's set up perfectly. Jared Nagus is going to be there to watch his record more than likely go down because we have tons of great runners from Kentucky history running this weekend. And it's going to be a great setup for a good one. And good luck to everyone racing. Thank you for watching.